Good afternoon, our amazing viewers at the Inspire Mentorship Program. I hope you had a great weekend. Some of us who love working say TGIM. Thank God it's Monday. So thank you for joining us today on hashtag Mentorship Monday, where we invite our mentors from the Inspire Mentorship Program to come and chat with us about their careers and about a lot of lessons that they've learned along the way, and just to enjoy having a conversation about professional development. So today I have Thato Mochone, who is the head of media and marketing communications at NACOSEC. She's also a sustainability and communications consultant at Inspire Innovation Business Consultants. She holds a Master of Science degree in Education for Sustainability and a Bachelor's degree in Education. So I'm very interested to hear how she ended up in her profession. We'll get to know a bit more about her as we go along. Thato, how are you?
I'm doing better than you deserve. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, so welcome to our Mentorship Monday. How are you feeling today?
um, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm feeling
How was your day?
Oh, hectic.
What kind of day did you have?
Hectic. I was running all the way here. Yeah.
Okay, so Thato, tell us about the first question. Tell us about yourself and how you ended up in this profession.
Okay. I I completed high school in 1999. Revealing my age now, yes. So I completed high school in 1999, but I did not do very well in my studies, and so I spent 2 years at home while my classmates made their way to varsity. Because of financial hardships then, I wanted to supplement. It was difficult, so I finally learned that in South Africa education is free. So me went and then I went back and did standard 9, which is form D. So I went back and then graduated and got admission into the National University of Lesotho. So what I really wanted to do was I wanted to do law for no particular reason, but I just wanted to do law. So I applied. But because I'm not very good in math, I did Afrikaans. So when I went back, so I was not admitted into the faculty of law, but rather I was admitted in the faculty of education. So looking at options, I was like, what can I do? What can I do? I ended up majoring in English language and geography. And then I graduated in 2008. And then I was looking for a teaching job. Like you've graduated, you're a teacher, you're excited, you're looking forward to being in the classroom. And I never got that job. And then one day, call for auditions, the Ultimate Radio, I went. And then that's how my career in the media or in the broadcasting started.
Why did you decide to go when they had the call for auditions? Like, what pushed you to go? How did you have the confidence to even go,
I didn't really. I was looking for a job. That's how it started. But as you always say, the dots always connect backwards. Because the minute I landed, people that knew me from high school because I was into dancing and debates and this were like, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And for me, I felt I was at the right place. It felt so good. I loved being on radio. It was so therapeutic, and then you get to learn. And it was a whole new territory, but it was exciting, and I loved it. So there I was looking for employment. I ended up doing something that I was very passionate about. And it led to, so later on, I did my internship with the Voice of America in Washington, D.C. I also worked for Kaya FM as a foreign correspondent. So I was really passionate about being in that space.
Before you carry on, how did you get to do your internship with Voice of America? Tell us about that experience.
Okay, so the Voice of America internship came through the Mandela Washington Fellowship. So I applied for YALI, and so I also applied for personal development programs. So I was placed with the Voice of America in Washington, D.C. I was specifically working in the Zimbabwe department. So I was doing news for Zimbabwe in the US. It was really exciting meeting people from the SADC, understanding what the political landscape is, what the issues are, but also being able to do journalism at that high level. So it was really exciting. And the Kaya FM came immediately after that. So I was really passionate now into this can be done. And I also learned a lot of things because I learned about the UN radio. And so I was really addicted into learning how things can be done, how I can better myself as a profession in the territory where I was not really a profession. Yeah, and really out of respect for that, I end up doing a certificate in citizen journalism out of respect for the career, for the profession, to say, yes, anyone can be behind the microphone, but you need to understand issues of ethics and governance and how you can better your delivery in the field where you are really not an expert. You are learning on the job, but more than anything, you need to understand the governance and ethics around this profession that you are in. So yeah, that's the radio journey.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. The question that I have for you is, why did you feel, I think you answered it partly, by saying that due to respecting your profession, you felt that in as much as I have gotten these opportunities and I've been able to deliver while doing them, but for my sake, I guess, I still want to develop myself further. I know you've pursued other learning opportunities. Can you tell us about what opportunities have you pursued and why are you so passionate about learning?
Okay. I think one, I really don't want to argue. I don't want to say argue, they say, but I don't want to argue from no particular place. But also, it is helpful to. I think I'm obsessed with knowledge, like knowing, but also with the developing myself. But I also have this fear of what if this is not relevant anymore? You know? Yeah, because I remember a conversation that we were having with friends, and we were saying, so they were actually complaining about senior management in the company that they were working for. And they were saying, and actually these guys did economics in like 1998. So the economics that they did is no longer relevant, which sort of makes sense. Because you see the evolution of things, of knowledge. Like in the past, you'd be such a big deal if you were in traditional media. But now digital marketing, digital media is taking over. So what that says is, as a person, how do you better position yourself so that you remain relevant in whatever that you're doing? But I think for me, what has been the case is, so from radio, I moved and I joined the telecom. So when I was there, it was really experience because I was doing corporate social responsibility and communications. So the background in communications was from me being on radio, but the CSI part was, I've always been the one doing a lot of community service, coordinating resources and running campaigns on my own. So it was a good fit. And at that particular time, I remember I was at the beginning of my master's degree. But I started my master's degree when I was on radio. So how it started is, when I was on radio, I was really focused on radio for development, media for development. That was me, to say, how am I going to shape my thesis? How do I want to focus my learning? Because I was looking to grow my knowledge in the field where I am. Yeah. But then when I joined the telecommunications company working for doing CSI and communications, I realized, okay, what is this CSI? Yeah. I'm actually interested. So I was curious, and then so I focused my thesis. So for my thesis, I did corporate social responsibility in Lesotho, the potential for increasing development. And it was quite interesting to see how CSI can be used to advance development. But I think what was also interesting for me was working for a company that had a very specific policy on their investment in communities, having a budget and having the passion for CSI. It was helpful because I was able then to inform programs, do proper monitoring and evaluation, be able to give advice to say, but is there really impact there? And really be able to run away from the touch and go tendency that we see in many CSI initiatives where someone just comes and gives someone a millipep, takes a picture, they go, they don't know what's happening tomorrow, they don't even care whether lives are changed or not. So that has been my journey.
And was that easier for you because it's somehow CSI and development are really so interrelated?
Exactly.
So the fact that you had done media,
Mm-hmm.
but focusing on how you can use media in development.
In development.
So moving into CSI, do you think that was why it was easier?
Also, I think it was easier because I was doing CSI.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it
yourself.
I was doing
like
CSI.
Through your
Personally, I have been doing a lot of community service, but also in the organization, I was responsible for strategies that underpin the organization's.
Was that part of your job?
That was part of my job.
Okay,
yeah.
Wow.
So that was how this was helpful in that it was not just a paper qualification. It translated into something. Yeah. That was my everyday deliverables.
Yeah. Wow. And okay, I want to touch on learning a little bit more, and then I want to come back to this CSI that you were doing outside of work, particularly. So a lot of people think that learning only happens like when you're in school full time. Was that how it translated for you? Every time you wanted to get a qualification, did you go back to school and then come back to work, or how did that play out for you?
I think the challenge that the majority of us have is not trusting anything that you do online. People want paper qualifications. You feel like if there's no paper qualification. So initially, it didn't happen. Hey, you need to prove. So initially, that was the thought for me. Like, I have to go back to school. But I have since learned. So I had a line manager he had all traits of leadership. So he'd share these Harvard reviews, and then there was such rich content. There was so much learning from that. So I started like reading more, doing courses online, but I realized also that learning happens every day. Just making time to listen more and not be ready to respond, which is what the majority of us do. Someone is speaking, you're just waiting for them to finish so that you can respond. So I'm learning to listen more, and that's how the learning happens. But I also am intentional in setting time aside to say I need to have learned this by. So if you remember when COVID-19 and lockdown started, there was a lot of
April,
around people were making commitments. No, we better make use of I made the statistics of people that said we're gonna do something. But I actually did do something because between then and now, I did like 6 courses. Wow. So I did online. Wow. I did digital marketing, Google's Garage, which is very long but very informative, and you also actually get a certificate for that. Credible, of course, it's Google. And I was smitten by digital marketing. Then I was into search engine optimization. I was into email marketing, like all the aspects of digital marketing. Wow. It was so exciting. And I also there was also a course that was offered by the Commonwealth, Sustainable Development in Businesses. And this was relevant for my work at Inspire Innovation Consultants, where we are approaching businesses to say, we see that you're doing CSI. Let us help you shape it so that you're not just doing PR. So that it's strategic, So that it's strategic, so that it is aligned to your business strategy, but also you are contributing to the growth of this country. So it was very helpful. I did that, and I did the WHO preparedness course by WHO for countries COVID-19 preparedness and response. Very informative. And as you say, DK, the dots always connect backwards, because I did that course. It had all aspects of dealing with COVID, your risk communication, stakeholder engagement, etc. And here I am now, and
in a role that is
and when I did that course, I was like, I'm interested. I really want to know. So how can countries be prepared?
Did you know you're gonna get this job? Of course.
No, I didn't.
You didn't know.
But it was interesting. It was interesting to sit and say, actually, I think if they could, but then you're also, and for me, I think the approach over time has been, how can I contribute? So it was, you need to have tools so that you are able to bring something to the table, not just complaints, not just pointing fingers, but to say, okay, guys, I see this is what you're trying to do. My thoughts were, maybe if you consider this is, so I think for me, it was from that perspective to say, you really need to position yourself in a way that if anything comes up, you're able to add value.
Yeah. And I think I remember during the first months of COVID that obviously people were criticizing the government about everything, like how they're responding, obviously. Yeah. I was one of those people, I think. And I remember somebody wrote about how companies were basically using CSI to respond to COVID and to assist the government, that they were not really doing anything new.
Yeah.
And I remember just on this one particular post, there were a lot of communications professionals, and they were sort of, kind of flexing with their knowledge that, people should start doing this and make it like this.
Yeah.
And one thought that came to me was, how come professionals such as yourself are not writing thought leadership pieces? They're not really contributing knowledge to the sector to inform other professionals that may be in a position to implement all those strategies and all that stuff. So what are you doing in that regard?
Okay. Yeah. So I think it is important to be cognizant of your context.
Yes.
Which is for us, one, I don't want to say, I don't want to generalize, but people are very defensive. People are authorities in their respective careers.
Yeah.
You can't tell me. I've been doing this all my life. Like, you can't tell me anything about communication.
Yeah.
So I think we have, as professionals in different industries and fields, we have a responsibility of opening up communication, having best sharing practices, having informal talks to say, but how are you handling this in your organization? I think feedback would be receptive in that manner. And I think my worry also is it would be a good thing to write.
Yeah.
But looking at your context, who is going to consume that?
Yeah.
How many people have time to be reading that? And what is going to be the reception of that information? So for me, I'm proud that I took initiative. I know I took initiative because I went and I said, guys, I see you're trying to do something here. How can I add value?
Yeah.
Yeah, although the question was, how much do you want? No, I don't want anything. Are you sure? I was like, no, but I don't want anything. Yeah, but I think we need to be trusting more, to understand and accept that sometimes people, the feedback is genuine. People want to build. It doesn't take anything away from you to listen.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's so much information. Be in a position to filter, take in what's important, and just ignore everything else. But I think now also the noise is so loud that people have decided, like, you know what, I'm concentrating. I have a degree in communications. I know what I'm doing. But I think it starts with, we need to be more trusting. We need to open up. We need to be able to take a call. Ask someone in whatever industry, even if you're not friends, to say, how are you dealing with a social media engagement?
Yeah.
How are you dealing with communication at grassroots level? To understand how other people are winning, what their challenges are, so that you don't reinvent the wheel, but rather you are able to better your approach and strategies.
Yeah. And I think that is one of the things that we're trying to create through the Inspire Mentorship Program, is to create a network of professionals that have relationships, that can call each other up and say, hey, I see your organization is in the news, what's going on? Can I advise? And people that I know, one of the benefits that the mentees have is that, in as much as I have been assigned a mentor, but I also have these other people in the program that I can just call up who have different expertise, and I can just call them up and say, I need your help in this, even though like they are not assigned to me. And I think it's also a bit countercultural, because I think as Basotho, I feel like we are not good at asking for help, and maybe it's also because we make fun of people when they get things wrong, or when they get things wrong. So I know that my passion is to see people that are more willing to help each other, and I'm also happy to see that our generation at least is quite receptive to helping each other out. All right, so on the CSI initiatives that you did outside of work, what drove you to do more than your day job? Like, I see a lot of young people going to work every day and then just like work home, and there are so many social issues that we have in the country. Why did you decide that you want to do something about whatever the issue was, that you were providing a solution for? What drove you to do that?
I think what did was the story that I told you, that I had to go back to high school. So what happened then is I needed school uniform, I needed money, I needed food, and because of the financial hardships at home, that was made possible by the contributions of other people. I remember my friend backpack, and I was working at a salon, so I'd go to school in the morning, in the afternoon, and the person that gave me a job could have given it to anyone that could be there full time.
Yeah.
But she understood my passion, but she also understood my hardships, and she wanted to help. And I have since looked at my life, how everything has been, to realize that we are dependent on other people for commodities we cannot produce ourselves. And also, when you do good, good happens. As you always say, planting seed. So in a way, you are sort of investing. But I think for me, the fulfillment comes in knowing that we have changed a life.
Yeah.
The shoe campaign was very personal because when I was in primary, I remember there was a time when I didn't have school shoes. So I had this, like how you know maybe. But when the so I had red Ricardos, so I didn't have school shoes, and I remember being made to sit in front of to stand in front of the whole class. The entire day.
Yeah.
And like, I'm traumatized anew when I think of that. So the shoe campaign for me was, I was coming to work and I see these kids that are going to school, and the shoes were like right next to them. I was like, no, but this is. And then I was talking to friends, and I realized there are actually people that have resources that want to help, but they don't know how to.
Yeah.
So all I did really in my CSI initiatives was just coordinating resources and making sure that they got to the right people. But through the Girl Empowerment Network, I also realized, and from my own experiences as well, how vulnerable girls are, how we are always looking for validation. I remember the times when I dated people I did not even like, because I was under pressure to be in a relationship, and because sometimes you are needy, so there's this guy who can give you money to buy sanitary, and you don't even like the person. So and I also realized that from, I think I rushed into getting married. I married when I was 24. Yes, I still would marry the same person over and over again. But for me, now, looking back, I was like, that was too early. Maybe at 35, But I realized it's because I didn't have access to mentors, like the young people that are coming up who have access to people like yourself that can guide them to say, it's okay, don't rush into it. Or, yes, you can get married, don't rush into having babies if you don't want, But we never had people that said that. And I think maybe it was also, the pressure was, get married.
Like the dream, like women were encouraged that your ultimate purpose is to get married, is to be a wife. So I'm grooming you. I have a friend that told me this, and honestly, when she told me, like, I got so tearful because I was raised a bit differently by my grandmother. I was raised by my grandmother, so I think she had this sensitivity that, like, a lot of people said, no, dikgutsana ha di rate bo sekolo kapo dikgutsana di a sokodisa. So my grandmother was very sensitive to say, I want my kids to finish school. Like, so just study. Don't do anything. Don't cook. Don't do this. Just study. So my other friend was telling me that her, like, grandmother, she was also raised by her grandmother, but her grandmother was like, it's such a, and I found that to be really sad.
And everything is preparation for marriage.
Yes,
not
you as a person. Like, can you cook? Can you do this? Everything is like, I found that so weird. Yeah. So I think another thing was when I was in Ireland. I worked in Ireland in 2018. I was 29, I think, at the time. and I was part of Global Shapers, so I was part of the Global Shapers Dublin Hub, and no one there had a child. So Global Shapers is a community for under 30s. So like no one there had a child, no one there was married, no one there was even thinking of getting married, anytime soon. And I realized also, although I mean I didn't regret having a child, but I was like, culture can really condition you, because where I come from, at that age it was okay. It was the right time, to have a child and to be married. So I also realized how culture can condition us. And as you're saying, in our culture, the earlier you can get married, the better. But there also needs to be a shift so that people do things because that's what they want to do, and also so that they don't rush, into things that, and then give up on other things that they don't necessarily have to give up on.
So that's how these things that I have been doing have been influenced. So with the girls mentorship, it was solely that reason that I just shared with you. But I'm also proud because when you have built this network of girls and they're under so much pressure, but for them from themselves. So from the group, people have, like the girls from the group, they've done wonderful things. The other one is going for the fellowship in 2021. They're supposed to go the Mandela Washington Fellowship. She's been everywhere. You can imagine. Because from the fellowship, I said to them, guys, opportunities are galore. The advantage that you have is that you are a girl. You are a girl from Lesotho, a least developed country. You are a girl from a landlocked country. You are a girl from a monarchy. You are a black girl. Because when these funders set the criteria, sometimes they say funny things like, what are they saying? Criteria, monarchies only. You're like, okay. Or sometimes they say, I remember there's a terminology that's used for islands and landlocked countries, So opportunities are tailored like that. But for being a minority, it's actually working to our advantage. So I was saying to my girls, opportunity, just go on Google. Yes, do Facebook, it's fine, but go on Google, the opportunities are galore. And what I also said to them was, because others were saying, but Thato, their experience, they were saying, just write. They say this ridiculous things that you should have done community service, blah, blah, blah. And they say is, in the absence of the best, you become the best. I'm not even saying you are not qualified enough, but sometimes they say they want someone with a second class first division. You don't have it, but you're the only person that applied from Lesotho. So and they say,
go in because they want that.
At least you applied. You understand? So that's what I always say to my girls, and I love how they have taken up the advice, and they're all doing so well. They're all doing so well. So that's my motivation for community service, touching lives.
What you're saying is so interesting. I want to touch on this whole thing of I think when you read the book David and Goliath, it talks about the underdog and the power of being an underdog, And what you're saying is that just because you're an underdog doesn't mean you don't have opportunities. That actually being an underdog can position you for opportunities. And I talk about this, I know, a lot with you as well, where I also talk about how I was raised as an orphan and how a lot of people think that was so sad. When you tell that, especially to people that are maybe not from Africa or not from Lesotho, oh my God, that is so sad. And I'm like,
no,
not really. Because for example, my sister, she went to Tanzania when she was in Form 1 or something to go and shoot a video. They were teaching them like how to do media and whatever. She got a scholarship to go to Waterford. Like all those things because she was an orphan, So like sometimes we tell ourselves that I live in a small country, I can never build a career. That's my next question to you. Do you feel like being in Lesotho, what are the challenges of trying to build a career when you're in Lesotho? And what are the opportunities? What do you think, just because you're positioned here, gives you more opportunity than somebody that is in a more developed country?
That's a difficult one. But they say, what do they say? Go where you're planted, seed where bloom where you're planted. So for one, I would say, DK, from what I just shared, the opportunities are galore when you're coming from a country like Lesotho, inside and outside. Outside, because this has to change though. Basotho don't apply for opportunities. Scholarships are there.
Yeah.
Jobs are there. I remember in one meeting where we were talking with someone from the AU. So the person was saying, in these meetings, they are complaining that people from Lesotho are not applying.
Represented, yeah.
And we want that representation.
Yeah.
But this is information that I don't think Basotho have. And then there's the SADC Secretariat. And then with the Commonwealth scholarships, we were being asked, they begged us to say, please ask Basotho to apply. Because in my year, I think I was the only person that applied. Yeah. So people are not applying for opportunities, and people think these things are scams.
Or sometimes they think certain opportunities are for certain
people.
What do you think of that?
That's
mentality.
Okay, so there's this something that my grandmother says. So when I was going to the Mandela Washington Fellowship, so you know how grandmothers are. So I'm told that she was in the village saying,
Yeah.
That was my grandmother. But she was so proud in that from humble beginnings, this is happening. I remember even when I was going to the university, she was saying to my aunt, like she was so, yeah.
She was proud.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it really can happen to anyone. And I think our circumstances really are different. I think there's something I can say exaggerate. I'm here because really it's about individual effort to say, I don't want to go back there. I want to break the cycle. How do I get out of here? And that says giving your best at all times, being a team player, being into collaborations and impact, having your guiding principles that help you even when the area is gray, to say, but what do my principles say? And then but also wanting more. Being and we are also very apologetic or overly humble as Basotho. It's okay to want more. Remember a conversation that we had where we are saying how difficult it is to say I am so and so. So with it's bad with women, but it's bad with Black people. In a room full of opportunities where it's a networking session, people don't care how many kids you have or if you're married to a football star. It's a room full of opportunities. A man will stand up and say, I'm so and so accountant general, I went to Harvard, blah blah blah. A woman will stand up and say, I'm a mother of two. Okay, mother of two. People are in a rush. It's a networking session. We want to know what service, what skill, what expertise can we get from you. So we are overly humble, which I think then translates into the pace of how we want to achieve things. So you end up not wanting more, or you feel like it's bad to want more, to be ambitious,
or that is not for you,
or that it is not for you, it is for certain people.
So what's interesting is that when we went to Yali, my observation was that all the Basotho people would introduce themselves according to their country. Like, I come from a mountainous kingdom of Lesotho.
Landlocked.
3,000 meters above sea level. Like, and it would be like, well, we get where you're coming from. That's great. Who are you?
Exactly.
And what do you have to offer?
Exactly.
But I'm grateful about those kind of opportunities because that's where you learn how to, like, introduce yourself. All of us, I think, have gone through that, where you don't really know when they say, so who are you? You say, and we do that also every day. This is who I am. I'm from Hamadala. And
I don't care.
Like, who cares?
I don't care
where you're from, right? So I think what I appreciate about those kind of opportunities is that, like, you learn how to network, you learn how to talk to people, the elevator pitch, how to talk to somebody that only has 2 minutes for you, and you have to tell them everything about yourself and what you do to the point that they're interested, right? And that's also why I appreciate networks, such as this one, where you learn how to network. I think some of these things we also think that people are born with them. When we see a confident person, not that they are born with them, but that, you know,
It's
because
for
like
them.
it's about Tubabang.
Hey.
Hey, people from
I
overseas
can't wear
are
no
like this.
buhlali.
Hey, yes, I can't wear no buhlali, but we don't realize that
Everyone
you can
has
actually
something.
learn. You
Yeah.
can learn public speaking. I talk a lot about people writing themselves off too soon. You know, somebody saying, I know myself.
Yeah.
I don't talk to people. I don't talk in public. And I'm like, you are 20. What do you know about what you like? What is inside you? You know. So yeah, this is really cool. So on mentorship, right? Have you been mentored in your life? Who are people that played a significant role in your career?
I think I've been mentored all my life. Because you are unconsciously being mentored every day, but you're not aware. Like it's mentorship. But I think I've also always been smitten by smart people. If I don't know if I can say smart people, because I think everyone has smartness in them. Yeah. Can I do that? Like that's smart. So everyone has some smartness in them. But I'm intrigued and excited by
people that seem like that put themselves out there.
But also I think at one point I learned to be comfortable with asking for help. I think that is what has always helped me. I'm a person who knows how to ask for help. I know I can play stupid at any given time. And what I always say to people, what I always say to my husband is, no. Stop complaining. Anything that comes, look at it and say, what can I learn from this? What's in it for me? Because in everything, whether it's a crisis, there's something in it for you. The thing is, what are you intending to take out of that situation? So from radio, I worked with my then director was Likeleli Monyamane. He was mean on me. And there was a point when I felt like this is personal. But I later learned, because I think at one point I would come out of the studio and he would have written a letter to say, congratulations, that was well done. But then when he was unhappy with my work, he was very, and then I realized that actually this person is building me. So I started, going to him for guidance and then when I joined the Mandela Washington Fellowship, then there were mentors everywhere. But I have since made it a point to have a mentor at any given time. So I have spiritual mentors. I have mentors in all fields. My mentor at this point in time is Thato Mochone. She listens. And what I've always said about mentorship is not motivational speaking, where you say, believe in yourself, that you are a person. And then you leave someone, they believe in themselves, and they wake up in the morning and they're feeling the same way. But it should change you. It should challenge you to do better. It should challenge you to want to understand more, to interrogate certain things.
And to even interrogate yourself and your own shortcomings. Because sometimes people really do need to get more skills or pursue more opportunities before they can get to that point that they want to get to. So I think a mentor is, like, to your point, is somebody that helps you realize, I still have these weaknesses or I still have these gaps, and I still need to work on 1, 2, 3 to become better. And that's where feedback becomes important.
Because I remember one session where Thato said, no, Thato, I understand what you're telling me about this person. I know this person and I agree that this person is not a good person. But I also want you to understand that in the course of human events, you'll come across so many of this. How are you going to deal with it? So it was...
You can only control yourself.
You understand? So it was like, okay, now you have to go back and say,
look at yourself.
Actually, the other thing that I did was, I'm a therapy person. I go to therapy. Like, I wake up one day, I was like, okay, can I book a session? And I go. And then I say all these things that are in my head. And then you have someone who's not there to nurse your feelings. Because I remember there was a time when I was complaining about so many things. And she ended up saying to me, okay, Thato, you like this and this and this and this. So does everyone around you have to like these things? I was like, okay. And then you start realizing how imperfect you are as a person and how just because you are doesn't mean everyone has to be what
Like
you are.
and what,
And also learning to be accommodating of other people,
Yeah.
to understand that what we bring to the table, be it skills or character, we can only complement each other. Where others are strong, we bring, and that, but not trying to change people, because we are different. And what I always say to my husband is, before husband and wife, we are individuals first. This is why he eats his oats with sugar, I eat mine with salt, and that is not going to change. So it's small things like that that help you understand the bigger differences in our lives as people. That, someone might decide, and then when you decide all night prayer with manta, and it should be okay for people to be different, but still be able to live together.
So you're highlighting, we live in a culture that wants to force us to be the same. Okay, we want to really celebrate our sameness and to be surrounded by people that are like us. Okay, so what you're saying to me is that as a person, you surround yourself with people that are different to you, that think differently, and that challenge you.
More than anything, I love people that call me out. With social media, there's so much information and so little knowledge, and people are not intentional in extracting knowledge from the information overload. So everyone is an expert on this, on that, and I think we all get lost in it, being an expert and putting. But for me, I think what I really appreciate is for you, DK, which is what you always do, say, but from this perspective, but also being obsessed with diversity and inclusion. I think it has helped me to say, you are right, and you are right. You're both right. So how do we come to a common ground? Because we'll never ever see eye to eye, and we'll never appreciate things true and sane. And it doesn't mean the other person is wrong. It only means they don't see from your perspective. And like you're saying, that is our problem. People that don't see eye to eye with us, we start to hate them.
We think, or if somebody doesn't believe in your ideas, you think they hate you as a person.
No, they don't understand you.
And or they don't hate you as a person. They don't agree with your ideas.
And it should be okay. And these are people that you should also be paying attention to, because there's so much learning that can happen. Because sometimes we are so comfortable in our own truths that are not actually truths, that you might just miss a lot of things. You are missing out on an opportunity to grow because you are listening to fans. You know how we love surrounding ourselves with fans. I was staying. No, I want someone to say, hi. No,
you're wrong.
No, 2 out of 10. That was a disaster, But then if you're getting any other time someone who says 180%,
all the time, you're not going to be a better person.
You get overly confident. You're not going to be a better person.
So you've had a lot of experiences throughout your life. What are maybe 3 principles that you've learned through different things, like maybe the voluntary projects that you've done, or the fellowships that you've been to, the scholarships that you've gotten, the work that you've done? What are 3 important principles that you've learned?
Do good, even when no one is watching.
Why?
Because it's, for me, you sleep better at night, and truth doesn't hide. So by doing good is based on certain principles in itself. It's not good just because
someone saw it,
or just because you think so. An example that is always made is money that is used from money that has been gotten through illegal means, maybe drugs. If that money is used to help orphans, it's challenging, But that is not good. From the premise of the process, it was not good. So understanding that, I think for me, it makes me sleep better at night. But also defining your own values as a person, to say, I want to live an honest life. Yes, we are human beings. To err is only human. But when you set your life on such principles, it's easy not to be lost when the area is gray. This is important for me because there are times in the course of human events, when you are giving a directive to do something that you feel like is unethical, it's easy for you to say, I'm not going to do it.
Because that's your value.
Because this is wrong. I'm
Even
not going
if
to
it's
do
gonna
it.
cost you your job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm a person who walks away.
Yeah.
There was a point when I was like, maybe I can get in. But I've since learned, looking back at my life, to say I'm a person who stands for my truth. And if respect is no longer served, if we don't, our values, there's a mismatch in our values, I walk away.
Yeah.
I have walked away, and from all the situations that I've walked away, zero regrets. I would do it again. So I think those are the most, staying true to yourself.
Someone was saying, how do we expect people like employees, for example, that have never defined their own values to uphold the values of an organization, and I think it all starts with us.
It all starts
with you.
Before
we even try and live up to certain values.
Because when someone, because for me, when people say, also you left whatever situation, you just left, and the person like, no, but that's not a big deal. For me, it's a big deal. For me, it's a big deal. But they don't see it as a big deal because it doesn't talk to their values. But for someone who shares the same values as you, they understand you walk away. So I think it is important for people to define their own values, their guiding values, because they guide you whether it's clear or whether it's not clear. Because you just go to say, I just gave DK a job. Now, drink. Should I take it? But your value say no. But drink, Exactly. Because maybe there's no policy in your organizations that says anything about anti-bribery. But for you, when you have your principles, like your values, you're like,
even if it's
wrong.
Not a policy.
If it's not a policy, but now I'm saying, because your values are very clear. So I think it's important as people to have our values.
All right. So, as a last question, if you look back at your career, right, and I mean, there's so much more we could have spoken about. I feel like we could keep on going forever. But if you look at your career, and let's say you advising somebody that was in your position when you were 20 years old, what would you say, based on them maybe starting off and saying, I don't know what the future holds, I'm so nervous, I don't know what to do.
Start. The first important thing is to start. The doors always connect backwards. For many people, later on they say, when I started, I was just a secretary, and then I was promoted, and then. But the dots, as you always say, DK, they connect backwards. So start, because you might be at a point where you are not sure of what will work. Do not dwell on that. If you are able to find guidance, but if you are unclear, just start. You can figure things as you go, and things actually have a way of revealing themselves, because the ones that are not going to work, they just have a way of not working,
falling off.
They fall off, and then the ones that are meant to be there, and it's the same thing even with friends. The ones that are supposed or meant to be there, they stick around, and the other ones fall off because they were there for a reason, and so the purpose has been served, and then they move on. So for a young person out there is just start, but also believe in yourself that you are a person who has something good to give. Everyone has smartness in them. Degrees differ, but everyone has something good to give. So just believe that you are a person who has something good to give. Start. It is okay to feel confused and helpless. Be okay with asking for help. Ask for help. It is okay to fail. And also,
how do you deal with failure? Why is it okay to fail? People like to say that. And then other people are like, no, it's not okay to fail. Why do you say it's okay to fail, and how do you deal with it?
It is okay to fail. It is an opportunity to do better. But also the thing is how we define failure, because sometimes it's an opportunity delayed. It's a rejection and unfortunately with rejections, for example, we see them as failures. But sometimes you were denied that opportunity because you were overqualified for it. But when you are rejected for something, you don't even consider that maybe I was overqualified.
Maybe it was for a good reason. Yeah, we always think.
But also, yes, thinking of a positive to say maybe I was overqualified. Or maybe they could not afford me, or maybe I wasn't a perfect fit for this. But how we always see it is, I'm not good enough.
Not good enough. They rejected me.
An example that I always make to many people, having sat on many panels, evaluation panels, is that the criteria. I think these are things that maybe we should also be communicating to young people so that they understand. Sometimes you don't get an opportunity because they were looking for a representation of more women as compared to men, or they were looking for people from law fraternity and a little bit from agriculture, but this is not something that's communicated back. So as you get the rejections, understand sometimes it really has nothing to do with you. But to fail, man, it's not the end of the world. So accept that it's going to be painful, because it is very painful. Deal with it, but and then you move on.
Wow. That is such an awesome note to finish off on. Thank you so much for joining us. I will certainly host you again, because there's so much more. There's so much more to talk about. There was a time when you were posting all your rejection letters on social media. You were like, guys, we always post the congratulations, you've gotten this, and you said, I'm going to show you how many rejections I've gotten in my life. And so much to talk about.
I know.
But thank you so much for joining me. Guys, see you next week, Monday, on #Mentorship Monday. That's it. Bye. Thank you.